be me. All right. With that, I would like to call to order the October 13th joint board meeting of the joint board between the City of West Lafayette and Purdue University. Our first item of business is approval of minutes. Can I ask for a motion to approve the minutes?
Can we call the roll?
Oh, you want to do the roll call first?
Let's do
Still
that
nervous.
first.
Ms.
Dave Buck.
Daniels, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sorry. Dave Buck.
Here.
Chandler Poole.
Here.
Tim Clark.
Here.
Ken Sandel.
Here.
Julie Griffith. Here. And Abby Daniels is present as well.
Okay, thank you, Abby. So with that, I would like a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
These are the minutes from the July 23rd meeting. Are there any comments, corrections for the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. On to new business. First item of business regarding the Restate Development Project. We do have an item for a confirmation of a team member change. One of the team of State Street Mobility Alliance is asking permission to replace McQuarrie with Star America. And with that, I'd like to call Adrian up to give us a little bit of background on this issue and what the management team's recommendation is.
Sure. Adrian Allen, Purdue University, and chair of the Evaluation and Selection Committee. Last time we came to you, we had 3 teams that we recommended as having satisfied the requirements of the RFQ, the request for qualifications. You voted to approve those teams. Subsequent to that, we had a request from one of the teams, State Street Mobility Alliance, that they be allowed to substitute their equity member, that's McQuarrie Corporate Holdings, take them out of the team and instead substitute Star America Fund GP. What we did was in assessing that request, we went through the same process we did with the initial RFQ selection in terms of evaluating their financial capacity to successfully perform the State Street project. Drew upon our partners at KPMG and Barnes & Thornburg in running that analysis. The substitution Star America funds satisfied the RFQ standards, so we wholeheartedly request that you approve that substitution.
Okay. Are there any questions for Adrian regarding the substitution request by State Street Mobility Alliance?
I have a question. Why are they asked? Did they ask to be released, or did they want it? Was this on their own?
This request came from the team and the 2 component members. The basic reason is once we baked the numbers on this project a little bit and McQuarrie was able to see the scale, they acknowledged that it really was a little below their sweet spot in terms of the equity financing, and Star is better positioned to take on this project.
I think that they feel like they have a stronger team because of this proposed change. Is that correct?
That's correct. And it should be noted that Lane and Star and McQuarrie all worked very hard to make this transition as seamless as possible.
Any other comments or questions for Adrian? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of confirming and taking the recommendation to allow State Street Mobility Alliance to replace McQuarrie with Star America, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried.
Thank you.
Did somebody move and approve that?
No, I wonder.
Okay, now, can I have a motion to approve the team change?
So moved.
Second? Second. Thank you. Now we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Sorry for the procedural difficulties. Next item on the agenda is approval of the final RFP. And with that, I'd like to start with Don Peterson, project manager for us. If he could just step through the schedule a little bit of upcoming events, where we're at in the process, and kind of what to expect next.
Yep. So like Adrian said, we have 3 teams looking at the RFP, what was right now a draft RFP, what's called industry review period. We've had some what's considered one-on-one sessions with them, so we kind of talk about the terms of what's in the draft RFP. We've had 2 of those sessions already, and they've gone very well, and we've incorporated their comments along with advice from Parsons Thornburg, KPMG, and Parsons to kind of have an agreeable final RFP that we are ready to issue now. And once approved, we would issue that RFP in final form. And then we would have another session of one-on-ones with the 3 teams at the end of this month. And then a final addendum date would be November 9th. We'd have to have any additional changes to the RFP. And then proposals would be due on December 14th, which we've been holding that date pretty firm because if it slips beyond that, then we'll get into the holiday period, and you lose a lot of time if you start pushing that date back a little bit. So all 3 teams are in favor of that schedule, and it's worked pretty well so far. So that would be what the next dates are that would follow after the issuance of the final RFP.
And that due date was December 14th?
December 14th would be the final proposals would be due.
Any questions for Don regarding schedule or what we're going to expect? I don't know, Steve, did you want to add anything about the RFP? Or Rich, do you want to say anything about kind of the process of documents and releasing documents and all of that? What's good? Sure, if you can.
Is there a microphone?
There's not a microphone over there, unless it...
There's a recording here, so we'll get.
Oh, I see. Good. Very good.
Just step us through what's going to be released and...
Sure. Richard Starkey with law firm Parsons. So the RFP has been a while getting here, and we're finally at this point. So today the expectation is the RFP will be released to the offerors, and that includes all of the technical provisions, all of the agreements that would be part of the project going forward. And then, as Don explained, we would expect to have those offerors bring in their proposals, mid-December. And those proposals, by the way, would be subject to open records law under the VOT statute. And the RFP itself, the draft that was released back in, I think, July 31st, the first draft, that's also subject to open records as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or any other comments you might have.
So we've got about 6 to 8 weeks of process left before we would have proposals come in from the teams, and all of that's been set and stipulated in the documents, how that's going to transpire and move forward.
Correct.
And each of the 3 teams, having reviewed a preliminary of that,
Right.
are sure that they can comply with everything required within that timeframe?
Yeah, so during these last few months, we've been having one-on-one meetings with all 3, and we've been discussing their questions. We've been answering those questions we can answer. We've been changing the RFP to the extent we feel like it's beneficial to the city and Purdue to do so. So this RFP that's being released will have some of those changes in them based upon the questions that were raised by the 3 offerors.
So from this point forward, once it's released, any question then asked, is it shared with the other teams as part of the process?
It depends on what the question is, right? If it's something that's proprietary to their kind of proposal, no. But if it's something that would be changed for everybody, the answer is yes.
Okay. Is anyone going to speak about the affordability cap? We need to include with that for the board's consideration.
Sure.
So as we described to the board at your past meetings and certainly prior to the release of the draft RFP, this procurement is a bit different in that the public sponsors, the city and the university, have defined the funding commitments, and it's important based on our purpose and need for this project to deliver as much of the scope as possible, because it's an aspirational scope. It has up to 8 segments, and ideally we'd like to obviously get the most effective and efficient cost proposal, but we'd also like to deliver all of the project for what we have available. So we're using a an affordability cap model, which essentially defines our funding commitments. The city has defined its funding commitment from TIF 1. The university's funding commitment through the TIF support facility made available by Purdue Research Foundation is defined as a backstop for TIF 2, which will grow in increment over time. Combined, those two funding commitments equal an affordability cap that, exclusive of $3 million that has been set aside by the city for right-of-way acquisition and related right-of-way services, that funding commitment totals, sorry, let me get it. The affordability cap is $119,700,000, which will be available for availability payments to be made to the developer over the entire project term. That is a set of payments that contemplates the entire bundle of services that the developer is going to be delivering. That is not just design and construction, but also bringing the financing, providing the operations and maintenance package, and doing other life cycle things over the entire term of the project. So that's probably the hallmark of the RFP parameters that will be released today. And as we indicated at the last meeting, we wanted to bring your specific attention to that piece. I would just add, to build on Rich's point, that this is a procurement method that is able to unlock a lot of value in the way that public sponsors are advancing it through the interactive process with the teams. There's a lot of good and creative thinking that's offered that we benefit from, where the joint management team is able to really hone what our objectives are and what our priorities are. And it also lets the teams know in advance what those are so that they can really make their proposals as competitive as possible. So we're excited not only to have the 3 world-class teams, but to anticipate what they're going to be delivering at the end of this process.
Is the 119.7 inclusive of the $3 million you referenced as the set-aside?
Exclusive. Exclusive. So 122.7 total.
And so our actual action here is the 122?
Actually, it's specifically, it's because what's in
the RFP, which is the 119.
Is the 119.7,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
But yeah, you can certainly take note of the $3 million that's been made available by the city.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions for any of the speakers or that the board may have? I do still need a motion. And if I could request someone for a motion to approve the final RFP, including its specified affordability cap of $119,700,000 over the term.
So moved.
A second.
It's been moved in second. Do we have any other discussion amongst the board? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. We have an RFP. Next item on our agenda is approval of the short-term credit facility, PRF. Eric, you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you.
Seems like it's getting up out of his chair.
Yeah, good guess, Eric Burns, City Attorney. This is something we're going to ask you to go ahead and table. We are in the final stages of drafting, and it is not yet ready for final approval. We have some city leaders that also need to look at it from the RDC, and it will be ready for your next meeting. So I would ask for a motion to just table it to your next joint board meeting, please.
Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to table the approval of short-term credit facility with PRF. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Table until next meeting. Okay, the next item, next 2 items involve some Board of Zoning Appeals cases. We were notified late last week?
Yes.
By email from the Area Plan Commission that these cases have been filed through their office for hearing, I believe, at the October BZA meeting, which would be the last Wednesday in October. I don't have a specific date. First case is BZA case 1938. It's the University Lutheran Church, at the corner of Chauncey Avenue and State Street. I've had an informal meeting as the city engineer for the city with the church and their architect prior to them submitting any drawings like this that we see as the attached site plan. They do have a residential property at the corner of Chauncey and the mid-block alley that you see shows to be demolished. They would like to do a large addition and remodel of the portion of the church, and then they also would like to add a new garage, or I think really replace an existing garage at the end of their parking lot closest to the northeast corner of their property along State Street. I have not had any recent communication with the church or their architect as to their timeline, but this is a property in the State Street restate project that will most likely have some right-of-way purchased from it. So there needs to be some communication, in my opinion, between the project and the church and their project so that we can ideally create a match line between the two projects that would allow both to move forward without creating a conflict of having something overlap that doesn't match. There's potential for retaining walls along their property. That is a pretty good hill there, if you're familiar with that, up to the church's building pad elevation, down to the existing sidewalk. I do not believe we're talking about a significant, if any, widening of State Street in this area. It's mostly just to fit a wider sidewalk through this area and then be able to grade back to the church's yard. It probably will require some amount of retaining walls by the project. That's what's driving the most likely need for eventually a right-of-way purchase from the church. Those have not started. So at this point, I don't think that the joint board should probably support this project, but I don't think that we would necessarily be in a position to speak negatively or in opposition to the project without having that opportunity to coordinate the restate project with the church's planning. They're aware of the State Street project, but not in any detail. And so I really need to circle back with our advisors on the restate project with what communication would be appropriate and would be allowed, as well as the beginning of the right-of-way acquisition phase of the restate project, which is very close to being able to begin. And at this point, I think that communication needs to happen between now and the October BZA meeting.
I would say that should be our official action here to ensure that communication, so that when it is presented, it can be discussed. It's in coordination with the joint board and with a full understanding of the path forward on the State Street project.
Just for the record, the meeting is October 28th, and I will ensure that that communication happens between the two entities prior to that date. Should they continue on, I think that would need to be made, the Board of Zoning Appeals would need to be made aware in some way of what you just stated, Ken, that we would request that they have communication between their project and the restate project to avoid creating a garage that's now where a retaining wall needs to be, or vice versa.
Do you believe that from the site plan that there is enough space?
I think potentially there could be enough space, but we would need our engineers to look at it. Again, the process that we're in is taking design only so far to a 25 or 30% complete point. The successful developer will take those plans and surveys and utility information and complete the design. So our information is only going to be so good. And they're probably not too far from that themselves with this preliminary site plan in its early stages. They do have a parking lot project that they want to do, and possibly everything but the new garage could maybe move forward. But I will say the new garage is most likely in the side setback, or right on the edge of it. Now, it's a 0-foot setback, so it could be right on the property line.
Do we have any indication that after the October, 28th meeting, that they were kind of hoping, well, the winter's coming, to hit the ground running with all of this?
No indication to that or to the contrary. We do not know what their timeline is. You want to try to make a motion on this?
I'm just wondering if enough is known about the State Street project to, you know, I guess, should our action be different? And that it should be delayed until that project has a better defined boundary. Because if our thing is we'll coordinate and communicate, and they're right on the edge of the retaining wall, which is right along, that could interfere. So the original motion, not that it was a motion yet, might not be significant enough for us to communicate with the Board of Zoning Appeals that the joint board's in favor of this moving forward. I'd say I'm not in favor until we know for sure where the road will go.
There's certainly an amount of, I think, certainty or degree of certainty, I should say, that we would be comfortable with based on moving forward with right-of-way purchases. We're going to have a pretty nailed down footprint of where the road can go. If that degree of certainty does not impede the church in their proposal here, I would think we could be, with that, comfortable letting them move forward uninhibited, but I don't think that we can until that analysis is taking place.
And we can't piecemeal it and say, well, we don't see a problem with the new addition, but the new garage, because one thing could throw the whole project in the...
I believe we can be that specific if we determine that we're okay with something and not another element of their proposal. They could then amend their proposal, depending on exactly what variances and number of variances they're seeking. They may approve and not approve any one of the board, if that is. Is there any other discussion? Care to try to summarize our thoughts on the motion, Ken?
I'll try here. I guess I would move that we authorize you as a representative of the joint board to have to communicate and coordinate with the submitter here to review and understand the State Street project and determine if there is ample setback from what could be the proposed right-of-way purchase.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other additional discussion? And I'll admit, I have not spent a lot of time reviewing their application. They really have not clearly stated what variances specifically they are applying for, other than to say, see Exhibit B. And Exhibit B is a site plan with some text on it that still does not explain, a 0-foot side yard setback or a vegetated cover. They're just giving, the area plan staff is going to have to do quite a bit of back and forth with either them or on their own to determine exactly where the zoning ordinance is going to require them to have variances for what they're proposing on the site plan. So it may get continued, it may get modified yet, but this is the first we had anything official on it, so we wanted to make sure it got on the board's agenda. And definitely agree with your motion, and that we need to communicate with them to let them know, hey, the State Street project and at least your garage are potentially in conflict, possibly not. There are no other portions of this site plan that any of the members feel concerned about demolishing of a garage and a house, two-story house. The expansion in the parking lot work, we're all comfortable.
I'm only concerned about the garage.
They do have an existing sign up at the corner that says to remain as is, so it looks like they're putting a new sidewalk up from Chauncey up to the front entrance.
Could that sign be different?
It may.
Add that to your discussion.
Okay. Very good. Anyone else?
I have a question in regards to this. Since they're going to BZA on October 28th, what are they taking to BZA for? The discussion that you're going to have between now and then, and what can they take to BZA from that discussion to what we're talking about?
The petitioner or us?
Petition.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. There will be some back and forth with the area plan staff assigned to this case to determine exactly the 2, 3, 4, 5, however many variances are built into this site plan, and enumerate those as individual requests that the board would then either approve or deny based on the merits in the staff report about them. We could specifically comment to the BZA staff, either at the meeting or in writing, about concerns about the garage, but I believe Ken's motion is instructing me to have communications with the church and petitioner directly. And I can also do that with the area plan staff so that we don't kind of cross communications or start advocating different things, basically.
So our motion is not, our vote is not going to be, we're voting to say yes, we're voting to say we're giving you authorization to go talk to him. But there's nothing going to be just determined between now and BZA.
Well, we're not going to meet again, but if we would want to add or amend the motion to include informing the Board of Zoning Appeals that we were not in favor of at least the garage, any variances associated with the garage moving forward prior to coordination. The garage may not require variance, and that's what's not clear on this site plan. So if the garage is not a specific variance request as a part of this petition, then we have nothing to say. They could build it by right today. So that analysis has
Their
been done.
awareness of it might be on the edge of, it might come right up to what is a sidewalk into the road.
Yep. So, any other questions, comments? Are you clear on the motion?
I'm clear on the motion. Are we amending the motion then? Do you want me to read the motion as I have typed it? I put Mr. Sandel moved to authorize Mr. Buck as a representative of the joint board to communicate and coordinate with the church petitioner to review the State Street project and determine if there is ample setback such that the proposed church project can be definitively approved or denied.
I would like to ask Ken to amend his motion to include, I'm trying to think how to word it, that the board's official position until such communication can happen and be resolved would be to not support the addition of the new garage along State Street.
That sounded good the way he said it.
You liked it.
Yeah. Certainly.
Got an applause.
That was awesome.
I didn't know that was for that.
How come the amendment got the applause and not the motion itself? Maybe it was Abby's reading.
Okay, friendly amendment has been made. Any further discussion on BZA 1938, University Lutheran Church? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. The next item is BZA 1939, Riverside Construction, and Abby pointed out to me at the beginning of the meeting, questioning if this is in our collaboration zone map. A quick check of the map in Google Earth shows that it is just outside. 468 Littleton Street is just north of the boundary of the collaboration zone, so this item needs to be removed from our agenda. We do not have any comment to make. So, with that, we are on to public comment. Judy.
Good afternoon. Very happy to finally get to meeting of the joint board. I'm Judy Rhodes, the clerk treasurer of the city. I'm here to request that the board, pursuant to statute, file copies of their financial reports with the fiscal office of the city. I understand you've gone through your organizational phase, and you've made significant disbursements that are online to become public obligations. I would ask for a report that totals the obligations incurred to date that are envisioned to be part of the pre-development obligation that ultimately is going to be funded by the taxpayers. I noticed at your meetings you don't have the structure that I'm most familiar with, in which invoices which have been filed prior to the meeting are then approved by a board, and a report of those disbursements is made available. You have a different structure, so I don't even know how that process is occurring, but I understand from inquiries from members of this joint board that significant obligations have been incurred already by the joint board, and it's time that we had a report of those. We have another requirement in the city that actually applies to legal expenses in particular, based on a concern the city had quite a few years ago, that those bills be filed monthly and those obligations reported. The sense of the council has been that they have wanted to know what are the obligations that are being incurred in the public's name. They want to know, as those obligations are being incurred, just good government. Well, we're now at the point of going to our boards and commissions potentially to discuss this project further, and it's absolutely essential that we have this financial information before we go to those boards. I'd ask for your cooperation with this. I'm not certain to whom I would make the request specifically, but I'd ask for the board's support. Do you foresee that there will be any problem in being able to do this?
No. I think it'd be great.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to getting whatever you have as soon as possible. No need to wait. Transaction registers are fine, don't even have to be fancy.
Can I ask
Yes.
you a question just for my notes? You said the sense of the council, is that the West Lafayette City Council?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I will also ask whether you would consider using a more standard public process to approve your disbursements rather than doing this as a rather private process. Because there is virtually no disbursements that occur with a city that aren't subject to the public process I've just described.
Thank you.
Zachary Bale, 124 Connolly Street. I don't know if that matters. I don't think I'm in the particular overlay for the State Street project, but as an active resident in the area. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Rhodes, for that. That was a nice surprise to hear you make those requests for a more standard public process from this joint board. And to that end, I would like to encourage this board to continue maybe that vein of becoming more publicly and proactively transparent. By this, I mean posting information ahead of its meetings for the public to consume. For instance, today's agenda was only posted today. Kind of hard to prepare for a meeting.
No, it was posted on Friday.
Well, it wasn't linked to the event item, but we can take that offline, I guess. And I understand before there were some questions regarding the agenda item, or the agenda items that would be on there. However, Indiana code allows for such revisions, so I would encourage drafts to be posted as they're created. I know the City Council does those. Supplemental information, I noticed B and C were posted ahead of that. However, none of the items, if there were any for the restate project, were on today's agenda. None of the supplemental information was made available on the internet. And anything posted in its entirety would be appreciated. And then probably most of all, for those that don't have the pleasure of attending these meetings, posting the audio online for the meetings would be a great opportunity. I know this information is available when making those direct public records requests. However, some people don't even know those are available to them. So posting it online is always a benefit. And I know proactive transparency is not mandated by law. However, this information being available on the internet is necessary to minimize the barriers to access and allowing an informed and educated citizenry. So in that same vein, with that, I heard a lot of subcommittees and committees and advisors that Buck alluded to regarding the restate project. Are those listed somewhere on the internet, somewhere you can find documentation, a definitive source of that info?
I don't know that there are, but we can do that.
I would encourage that. With that vein, Evaluation and Selection Committee, anything regarding that, that's news to me regarding the restate project. The gentleman earlier had, I believe, the man with the Purdue tie, sorry, I forgot your name.
I think
I'm
that's
sorry,
blue and gold.
Adrian. What was that?
That's blue and gold. We don't
Blue and
claim
gold.
that tie.
Okay, right. Sorry. It is white, gold, blue and gold. The key is the gold.
Yes.
But yeah, anything regarding that? I heard also that the draft RFP has been around since July. There's been a letter about it, but not the official document that I seem to be able to find. I know the city's going through a revamp on its website. And those are, as the council said, again, really bad with names since we only say months at the beginning. You mentioned those are open and subject to public records requests. And then the questions that were alluded to earlier as well that affect all proposals are also public to, or subject to those public records requests. You know, can we find those answers online? Are those going to be collected in such a way that citizens that are interested in this project can follow that and learn about those? I would highly encourage that as well. So with that being said, transparency is a good thing. This is a public board. It's a new opportunity, I know, for Purdue and the city to work together. So as an active citizen, I would appreciate doing that as opposed to having to go through the arduous process of a public records request every time you're asking for information that's usually commonly available from other committees or councils from this city. So thank you.
Thanks. Those requests take our time too.
Yeah, no, I understand.
We get it. Any other citizen comments? Okay. Are we ready to set another meeting date? Oh, one other item. Ken brought up to my attention, I believe by our bylaws, or at least the intention was to elect new officers on an annual basis. That happened last September. Already been a year. And I do not think that we contemplated having that as an agenda item today. I would anticipate that we would be meeting in another month to 2 months based on the schedule update from Don earlier on the restate project. So if it's the board's pleasure, I would recommend putting the election of new officers on our next agenda. All right. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Can I make a comment?
You can make a comment.
I just want to make a comment about the public comment. Certainly want to be a part of a board that is using the term proactive in terms of the way we provide information. I certainly would like to have discussion about what we put on the website and how we disseminate information. So the comments have been heard.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Move to adjourn? So moved.
So.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.